Yo, YouTube, what's going on? In this video, I want to discuss marijuana and the negative effects and what you need to be wary of when using marijuana. So I always say that marijuana is for the disciplined. Marijuana is for somebody that is disciplined, that can control their lower base desires. Because if you are not disciplined and you consume this herb, it doesn't matter whether you're smoking it, eating it, drinking it, you are going to fall into the temptations. Marijuana is going to control you. So I always say you must master the herb. Don't let the herb master you. In other words, you must master cannabis, marijuana. Don't let cannabis, marijuana master you and control you. So if you're not in control of other aspects of your life, then you're gonna become susceptible to the herb. And this is with most drugs and alcohol, from my experience. As somebody who's experimented with several drugs, obviously alcohol as well. Like now, obviously I don't drink now, but if I was to drink, I'd be in total control. People say, "Oh, I wasn't in control. I accidentally slipped up and cheated." No, I've taken Molly, I've taken cocaine, I've taken all of these hard drugs, and I've been able to maintain control. And that's because the mind is the most powerful thing. And if your mind is powerful, then these drugs can't control you. So I want to say, because when I first started experimenting with the herb and using it, obviously I was very young, and I would fall into the typical things that other people would fall into. The munchies. If you can't control your eating habits, like if you're not fasting, if you don't know what's good for you and what's not, like I might, if I was high right now, for example, I would just want to, snack, eat things that are not actually good for my body. But then when you get to a certain level of consciousness, you might get high and you might be like, okay, let me only consume things that are good for my body. It's not about the urge to just of gluttony in effect. The same goes with other things that marijuana stimulates. Music. A lot of the time, the music that we listen to is not positive to our ear gate. It's not beneficial to our ear gate. Whatever we listen to programs us. That's why things are called channels and programs. Music is a frequency, whatever we tone ourselves into. So even just music, listening, enjoying the music, and now it's even stronger. Your senses are even feeling it even more. So it's definitely not going to be good for you. It's better to put on maybe some sounds, some things that actually positive messages and things like that. Sex is another one. I remember I used to consume marijuana at the time. I had a girlfriend when I was first experimenting with the herb. We just want to have sex, sex, and then obviously coupled with ejaculating, just lowering your energy. So if you're not disciplined, marijuana is going to take away from your energy. And a lot of the time, you've heard of the side effects of marijuana, the weed hangover. The weed hangover is obviously, you get that one if you're using GMO weed, which if you're living in the West, the weed that you're probably using is probably genetically modified. It's probably not as organic as you think it is. It doesn't matter how much you're paying for a strain. It's probably not going to be the best. So you're going to be feeling tired, and that's because of all the energy you expended the day before eating junk, engaging in sex, engaging in music, watching the stars, talking nonsense is another thing a lot of people do. They waste words. So all of those things, whatever it is, everybody's different when they're high. So everybody does different things when they're high. But essentially, when you're high, you shouldn't really, it should be for spiritual purposes. It's the way Rasta views it. It should be for spiritual purposes. Like whenever, you should only do things that raise your energy, because smoking, especially, obviously it has a lot of carcinogens, is adverse to your health. It's not beneficial for your health. So you need to be doing things that are beneficial for your health, and you need to be doing things that are beneficial for your body in order to reap the full rewards of marijuana. So personally, if I'm going to use the herb, my most preferred method is by consuming it in a tea. Second is by consuming it in an edible. And third, if I actually have absolutely no choice and I want to use it, I would smoke it. But if I smoke it, there's a protocol I have to take to overcome the adverse effects of smoking immediately thereafter and on the next day as well, because health is the most important thing. And if I was to smoke marijuana, every time I smoke marijuana, I always get a mucus buildup. So that lets me know that it's sickness. So it's not good for you. And I know the Rasta man usually does a steam chalice, blunts, bongs, and all of this stuff. It's not good for your health, man. That's just point blank period. So some things that I recommend to do when you're using the herb is meditation, prayer, quietude, going to a private beach or quiet beach, going to the forest, nature, being in nature, essentially being outdoors. And I think it was Molly or ecstasy, one of these drugs that I took one time, it took me so high up, and I couldn't believe how high it took me, that I was like, okay, anything that brings you up must bring you down. So this is another thing I want to talk about. I only recommend using marijuana when you're already high. If you're low and you use it to get you high, what's going to come back? You're not going to come crashing down. So if you're already high, and you smoke, you're not really gonna get high. You might get, but you're gonna be here. You're not. There's not any room. So anything that brings you super up, super up. So my ego when I took Molly, just went. Just I felt like I could jump out my window and fly. Like it really can get your mind to. You just feel so much power. So I immediately went down into nature to calm myself down, and then that way I didn't really experience any. The come down wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad the next day. But I've used different drugs in a different instance and partied and wilded out. And the next day I was written off. Like, why would you want to be written off the whole day when you have to perform and execute every single day as a man? Especially if you have children, like you can't afford to not be at your best for something you have control over. Because you have control over, you're going to use drugs and alcohol. So that's why I don't recommend drugs and alcohol. Even though I've harassed a man, I don't recommend weed unless you've really mastered it. And this is specifically for men because marijuana is feminine. It's a book, Dr. Layla African Holistic Health. I remember reading it. It's a feminine. It reduces your masculinity. So again, the same way if you're low, don't use it. You should only use marijuana if you're already high. So don't ever think, oh, I'm low, I'm gonna use alcohol. It's gonna get you here. Then it's just gonna bring you even lower. So you should only use it if you're feeling extremely masculine, if you're feeling extremely strong, because it's going to weaken you. Of course, it's not going to make you better. Okay, yes, it can give you insights and it can definitely help you, but again, it depends how you're using it. So meditation, I'll use marijuana for meditation. I'll use marijuana for work. I would like, people are like, oh, how do you get high and go to work? They get high and watch TV. Get high and get to work. Get high and work out. Like, you could do things that are beneficial for yourself only, because the moment you do something that's not beneficial for yourself, you're regressing, and it doesn't really make much sense. Marijuana has to be studied, it has to be mastered, and a lot of these people, especially young people using it right now, don't really know what they're using it for, and they're just enjoying getting high, and they're dumbing themselves down. It makes you lazy, it makes you uninspired, it makes you demotivated, especially if you're not using it with wisdom. Like, nothing is meant to be abused. So that's my thoughts on marijuana, a little bit about drugs and alcohol. Don't want to keep this going too long. Let's get it.